Sarah walked down the empty street. The sun was going down behind the tall buildings. She pulled her coat closer to her body. The wind was cold and made her shiver. She had been walking for 2 hours now. Her feet hurt in her old shoes. But she could not stop, not yet. She needed to find a place to stay for the night. The last hotel had turned her away because she did not have enough money. Sarah looked at the few coins in her hand. She had $3.50. It was not enough for a room. It was barely enough for food. Her stomach made a loud noise. She had not eaten since yesterday morning. The street was getting darker. Most of the shops were closed. Only a few lights came from the windows above. People were inside their warm homes. They were eating dinner with their families. Sarah wished she had a family to go home to. She stopped in front of a small coffee shop. The sign said, "Open 24 hours." Through the window, she could see people. Sitting at tables, they were drinking coffee and talking. The shop looked warm and bright. Sarah wanted to go inside, but she was afraid they would ask her to leave. A man walked out of the shop. He was tall and wore a dark coat. He looked at Sarah for a moment. Then he walked away quickly. Sarah watched him go. She wondered what he was thinking about her. Sarah decided to go into the shop. She pushed open the door. A bell rang as she entered. The warm air hit her face. It felt good after being in the cold for so long. She walked to the counter slowly. Behind the counter was a woman with gray hair. She wore a name tag that said, Betty. The woman looked up at Sarah and smiled. "Can I help you?" she asked in a kind voice. "I would like some coffee, please," Sarah said quietly. Her voice was shaky. She was nervous. "What size would you like?" Betty asked. Sarah looked at the menu on the wall. The prices were higher than she hoped. A small coffee cost $2. "Small, please," she said. Betty poured the coffee into a cup. "That will be $2, she said. Sarah gave her the money. Now she only had $1.50 left. She took the coffee and found a table in the corner. The chair was soft and comfortable. She had not sat in a real chair for days. The coffee was hot and tasted good. Sarah held the cup with both hands to warm them up. She looked around the shop. There were only a few other people there. A man was reading a newspaper. A woman was typing on her computer. They did not pay attention to Sarah. Sarah made the coffee. Last as long as she could. She took small sips and watched the people on the street through the window. Cars drove by with their lights on. People walked quickly to get out of the cold. After an hour, Betty came over to Sarah's table. "Would you like more coffee?" she asked. "I don't have more money," Sarah said. She looked down at her empty cup. Betty sat down in the chair across from Sarah. "That's okay," she said. "You can stay here as long as you need to. I can see you're having a hard time." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. It had been so long since someone was kind to her. "Thank you," she whispered. "What's your name?" Betty asked gently. "Sarah." "I'm Betty. I own this place. I've been running it for 20 years. She paused. "Do you have somewhere to go tonight?" Sarah shook her head. "No, I've been looking for a job, but no one will hire me. I lost my apartment last month." Betty nodded. She had seen many people like Sarah. The city was hard for people who had no money. "Are you hungry?" she asked. Sarah's stomach made another loud noise. She was embarrassed. "A little," she said. Betty stood up. "I'll make you a sandwich. We have some soup left from today, too." "I can't pay for it," Sarah said quickly. "Don't worry about that," Betty said. She walked back to the counter. Sarah watched Betty make a sandwich with turkey and cheese. She heated up a bowl of chicken soup. The smell made Sarah's mouth water. She realized how hungry she really was. Betty brought the food to the table. "Eat," she said simply. Sarah ate slowly at first. Then she ate faster. The food tasted amazing. It was the best meal she had in weeks. "This is so good," she said between bites. "I'm glad you like it," Betty said. She watched Sarah eat with a gentle smile. When Sarah finished eating, she felt better than she had in days. Her stomach was full, and she was warm. "Thank you so much," she said to Betty. "I don't know how to repay you." "You don't need to repay me," Betty said. "Everyone needs help sometimes." They sat quietly for a while. The shop was almost empty now. Only one other customer was left. He was an old man reading a book in the corner. "Betty," Sarah said softly, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why are you being so nice to me? You don't even know me." Betty thought for a moment. "A long time ago, I was in your situation. I had no money and no place to go. A stranger helped me when I needed it most. That's how I was able to start this coffee shop. Now I try to help others when I can." Sarah felt more tears in her eyes. "I used to have a good life," she said. "I had a job and an apartment, but I got sick and couldn't work. Then I lost everything." "Life can change quickly," Betty said. "But it can change for the better, too. You just have to keep trying." The old man in the corner finished his book and left. Now Sarah and Betty were alone in the shop. Outside, the street was quiet. Most people were home for the night. "What am I going to do?" Sarah asked. "I have nowhere to sleep." Betty looked at her watch. It was almost midnight. "There's a small room upstairs," she said. "I use it for storage. You can sleep there tonight if you want." Sarah could not believe what she was hearing. "Really? You would let me do that?" "Yes, it's not much, but it's warm and dry. There's an old couch you can sleep on." Sarah started to cry. These were not sad tears, but happy ones. "Thank you," she said over and over. "Thank you so much." Betty showed Sarah to the room upstairs. It was small and full of boxes, but it was clean. The couch looked comfortable. There was a blanket folded on one end. "The bathroom is down the hall," Betty said. "Make yourself at home." After Betty left, Sarah sat on the couch. She could not remember the last time she felt safe. She pulled the blanket over herself and closed her eyes. For the first time in weeks, she was not worried about where she would sleep. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. She still needed to find a job and a permanent place to live. But tonight, she was warm and safe. And she had met someone who cared about her. That gave her hope that things could get better. Sarah fell asleep thinking about Betty's words. Life could change for the better. She had to keep trying. Maybe tomorrow would be the start of something new. Sarah woke up when she heard sounds from downstairs. The sun was coming through the small window. She looked at her watch. It was 7 in the morning. She had slept better than she had in months. She folded the blanket and went downstairs. Betty was already working in the kitchen. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air. Betty looked up and smiled when she saw Sarah. "Good morning," Betty said. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes, thank you." "It was perfect," Sarah said. She felt embarrassed about staying in the room. "I should go now. I don't want to be in your way." "You're not in my way," Betty said. "Would you like some breakfast?" Sarah's stomach was empty, but she shook her head. "I can't keep taking your food. You've already done so much for me." Betty poured 2 cups of coffee. She gave one to Sarah. "Sit down," she said. "I want to talk to you." Sarah sat at the same table from last night. Betty sat across from her with her own coffee. "I have an idea," Betty said. "I need help in the coffee shop. My old helper quit last week. The work is not hard. You would serve customers, clean tables, and help me in the kitchen. I can pay you $8 an hour." Sarah could not believe what she was hearing. You want to give me a job? Yes. You seem like a good person, and I think you would work hard. But you don't know anything about me, Sarah said. I might not be good at it. Everyone has to start somewhere, Betty said. When I opened this shop, I didn't know how to make coffee. I learned by doing it. Sarah felt hope growing in her chest. A job would change everything. She could earn money and maybe find a place to live. When would I start? She asked. Today, if you want. I can show you what to do. Yes, Sarah said quickly. I want to try. Betty smiled. Good. First, let's get you some breakfast. You can't work on an empty stomach. Betty made eggs and toast for both of them. As they ate, she told Sarah about the coffee shop. She explained how to use the coffee machine and how to take orders from customers. Sarah listened carefully to everything. After breakfast, the first customers started coming in. Betty showed Sarah how to greet people and take their orders. The first customer was a man in a business suit. He ordered a large coffee and a muffin. Good morning, Sarah said nervously. What would you like? The man told her his order. Sarah wrote it down and gave it to Betty. Betty made the coffee and heated the muffin. Sarah gave them to the customer and took his money. Thank you, the man said. He left a tip on the counter. You did great, Betty told Sarah. See? It's not so hard. More customers came in. Sarah got better with each one. She learned how to work the cash register and how to make simple drinks. Betty was patient and helped her when she made mistakes. Around lunchtime, a woman came in with 2 small children. The children were crying, and the woman looked tired. She ordered coffee and asked for milk for the children. Sarah brought the drinks to their table. She noticed the woman only had a few dollars in her purse. The children were still crying because they were hungry. Sarah went back to Betty. The woman with the children looks like she needs help, she said quietly. Betty looked over at the table. She nodded. Make 2 peanut butter sandwiches, she said, and get some cookies from the jar. Sarah made the sandwiches and put them on a plate with the cookies. She brought them to the table. I didn't order food, the woman said. She looked worried about the cost. It's free, Sarah said gently, for the children. The woman's eyes filled with tears. Thank you so much. We haven't eaten today. The children stopped crying and ate the sandwiches. The woman drank her coffee slowly to make it last. Sarah felt good about helping them. She understood how they felt. After they left, Betty came over to Sarah. That was very kind of you, she said. I know what it's like to be hungry, Sarah said. I wanted to help. That's why I knew you were the right person for this job, Betty said. The afternoon was busy. Sarah learned more about the coffee shop and the regular customers. There was Mr. Johnson, who came in every day at 2 o'clock for black coffee. There was Mrs. Chun, who always ordered green tea and read her book in the corner. There was Tommy, a young man who worked at the bank across the street. Each customer was different, but most of them were friendly. Some of them asked Sarah if she was new. She told them it was her first day. They welcomed her and said they hoped she would like working there. At 5 o'clock, Betty told Sarah her shift was over. You did excellent work today, she said. Here is your pay for today. She gave Sarah $64. Sarah looked at the money in her hands. It was more money than she had seen in weeks. Thank you, she said. This means everything to me. You earned it, Betty said. Can you come back tomorrow? Yes, absolutely, Sarah said. Betty gave Sarah a paper bag. There's dinner in here for you, and you can stay upstairs again tonight if you need to. Sarah felt grateful tears in her eyes again. Betty, why are you so good to me? Because everyone deserves a chance, Betty said simply. That evening, Sarah ate her dinner upstairs in the small room. She counted her money again. $64. If she worked every day, she could save money for her own apartment. She could buy new clothes, and maybe even a phone. She thought about the customers she had met. They treated her like a normal person. They didn't know she had been homeless. They just saw her as Sarah, the new worker at the coffee shop. For the first time in months, Sarah felt like she had a purpose. She had a job and a place to sleep. She had hope for the future. Tomorrow she would work again and learn more. Maybe she would help more people like the woman with the children. Sarah looked out the window at the street below. Yesterday, she had been walking on that street with nowhere to go. Today, she was looking down at it from a warm room. Her life had changed in just one day. She thought about what Betty had said about life changing for the better. It was true. Sometimes help came from the most unexpected places. Sometimes a stranger could change your whole life with one act of kindness. Sarah made a promise to herself. When she got back on her feet, she would help other people the way Betty had helped her. She would remember what it felt like to have nothing, and she would never forget the woman who gave her everything. She fell asleep that night with a smile on her face. Tomorrow was a new day, and for the first time in a long time, she was excited to see what it would bring. She had work to do, people to serve, and a life to rebuild. And she was ready for all of it. 3 weeks had passed since Sarah started working at the coffee shop. She had gotten better at her job every day. The customers knew her name now, and many of them asked for her when they came in. She felt proud of the work she was doing. Sarah had saved almost $500. She kept the money in a small box under her bed upstairs. Every night she counted it and thought about her plans. She wanted to find her own apartment soon, but she was also scared to leave the safety of the coffee shop. One morning, a new customer came in. He was a young man with messy brown hair and paint on his clothes. He looked around the shop like he had never been there before. "What can I get for you?" Sarah asked with a smile. "Just coffee, please. Black," he said. His voice was quiet, and he seemed nervous. Sarah poured his coffee and gave it to him. He paid with exact change and sat at a table by the window. He pulled out a small notebook and started drawing. Sarah watched him from behind the counter. He drew quickly with a pencil. She could see that he was very good at it. She was curious about what he was drawing. During her break, Sarah walked over to his table. "I'm sorry to bother you," she said. "I just wanted to say that your drawing looks really good." The young man looked up. His face turned red. "Oh, thank you. I'm just practicing. What are you drawing?" Sarah asked. He turned the notebook so she could see. It was a drawing of the coffee shop. He had drawn the counter, the tables, and even some of the customers. It looked exactly like the real thing. "This is amazing," Sarah said. "You're a real artist." "Not really," he said. "I'm just someone who likes to draw. My name is David. I'm Sarah. I work here. I know. I've been watching you work. You're very good with the customers." They talked for a few more minutes. Sarah learned that David was 25 years old. He had just moved to the city to try to become an artist. He lived in a small apartment with 2 other people. He did not have much money. "It's hard to make money as an artist," David said. "I do small jobs when I can find them. But mostly I just draw and hope someone will buy my art." Sarah understood his struggle. "I know what it's like to worry about money," she said. "But you're very talented. I think people would want to buy your drawings." David smiled. "Thank you. That means a lot." The next day, David came back to the coffee shop. He sat at the same table and drew in his notebook. Sarah served him coffee, and they talked during her breaks. This became a daily routine. 1 week later, Sarah had an idea. She talked to Betty about it. "Betty, what do you think about putting art on the walls?" Sarah asked. Betty looked around the shop. The walls were plain white. "What kind of art?" she asked. David, the young man who comes in every day, makes beautiful drawings. Maybe he could put some of them on the walls. People could look at them while they drink their coffee. Betty thought about it. That's not a bad idea. The walls do look a little empty. Do you think he would want to do that? I can ask him, Sarah said. When David came in that afternoon, Sarah told him about the idea. His eyes got wide with excitement. You really think people would want to look at my drawings? He asked. I think they would love them, Sarah said. And maybe some people would want to buy them. Betty said yes to this? David asked. She likes the idea. She said you could hang 10 drawings on the walls. David was so happy he could barely sit still. This would be my first art show, he said, even if it's just in a coffee shop. It's a great start, Sarah said. David spent the next week choosing his best drawings. He picked pictures of the city, people, and buildings. He even included the drawing he had made of the coffee shop. Betty helped him hang the pictures on the walls. She put small cards next to each one with the title and price. The drawings were not expensive. David wanted regular people to be able to buy them. The customers noticed the art right away. Many of them stopped to look at the drawings. They said nice things about them. Some people asked David about his work when he was in the shop. Mrs. Chun, the woman who read books in the corner, was the first person to buy a drawing. She chose a picture of an old building downtown. She said it reminded her of her childhood. I can't believe someone bought my art, David told Sarah. He was so excited he could barely speak. You deserve it, Sarah said. Your work is beautiful. More people bought drawings over the next few days. David sold 5 pictures in 1 week. He made enough money to pay his rent and buy art supplies. Sarah felt proud that she had helped David. She remembered how Betty had helped her, and now she was helping someone else. It felt good to make a difference. One evening, after the coffee shop closed, David came to talk to Sarah and Betty. I want to thank you both, he said. You changed my life. For the first time, I feel like a real artist. You were always a real artist, Sarah said. You just needed a place to show your work. Sarah gave me the idea, Betty said. She saw your talent and knew how to help you. David looked at Sarah. How did you know to help me? He asked. Sarah thought about her answer. A few weeks ago, I had nothing. Betty helped me when I needed it most. She showed me that people can be kind to strangers. I wanted to pass that kindness on to you. That's beautiful, David said. Maybe I can help someone else someday too. I'm sure you will, Betty said. The next month, something wonderful happened. A woman who owned an art gallery came into the coffee shop. She saw David's drawings on the walls and loved them. She asked Betty who the artist was. Betty told her about David and gave her his phone number. The gallery owner called David that same day. She wanted to put his work in a real art show at her gallery. David was so excited he ran to the coffee shop to tell Sarah and Betty the news. I'm going to have my art in a real gallery, he said. People from all over the city will see it. That's wonderful, Sarah said. I'm so happy for you. This all started here, David said. In this coffee shop, with you believing in me. Sarah felt warm inside. She had helped someone achieve their dream. It was one of the best feelings she had ever experienced. A few days later, Sarah made a big decision. She had saved enough money to get her own apartment. She found a small place a few blocks away from the coffee shop. It was not fancy, but it was hers. She told Betty about her plan to move out. I'm happy for you, Betty said, but I'll miss having you upstairs. I'll still work here every day, Sarah said. This place will always be special to me. You can come back anytime you need to, Betty said. You're like family now. On her last night in the room upstairs, Sarah sat on the couch and thought about everything that had happened. A month ago, she had been walking the streets with nowhere to go. Now she had a job, money, and her own apartment. She had also helped someone else change their life. Sarah realized that her life was not just about surviving anymore. It was about living and helping others live too. She had learned that kindness could spread from one person to another like ripples in water. Tomorrow she would start a new chapter in her life. But she would never forget the lessons she learned in the small room above the coffee shop. Sarah moved into her new apartment on a sunny Saturday morning. David and Betty helped her carry her few things from the coffee shop. The apartment was small but clean. It had one bedroom, a tiny kitchen, and a living room with a big window. "This is perfect for you," Betty said as she looked around. "It has good light, and it's close to the shop." Sarah stood in the middle of her new living room. She could not believe this place was really hers. She had her own key, her own space, and no one could take it away from her. "Thank you both for helping me," Sarah said. "I couldn't have done this without you." "You did this yourself," David said. "You worked hard and saved your money. You should be proud." After Betty and David left, Sarah sat on the floor of her empty apartment. She had no furniture except for a small bed and one chair. But she was happy. This was her home not the next week. Sarah started her regular life in the new apartment. She walked to work every morning and walked home every evening. She bought a few things for her apartment with the money she earned. A small table, some dishes, and a lamp for reading Dot at the coffee shop. More changes were happening. David's art show at the gallery was a big success. He sold many drawings, and people wanted to buy more. He still came to the coffee shop every day, but now other artists came too. A young woman named Maria started coming in with her guitar. She would sit in the corner and play quiet songs. The customers liked listening to her music while they drank. Their coffee. An older man named Frank brought his chess set. He would sit at a table and play games with anyone who wanted to learn. Soon people were coming to the coffee shop just to play chess with Frank. Betty was happy about all the new activity. "This place is becoming more than just a coffee shop," she told Sarah. "It's becoming a place where people come together." "That's because you make everyone feel welcome," Sarah said. "Just like you did for me." One day, a reporter from the local newspaper came to the coffee shop. She had heard about all the artists and activities there. She wanted to write a story about it. The reporter talked to Betty, Sarah, David, Maria, and Frank. She asked them about how the coffee shop had changed their lives. "This place saved me," Sarah told the reporter. "Betty gave me a job when no one else would. She believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." "Sarah is the one who suggested putting art on the walls," David said. "She saw something in my work that I didn't see. Now I'm a professional artist because of her idea." "Betty creates a community here," Maria said. "Everyone is welcome. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from." The newspaper story came out the following week. The headline was "Coffee Shop Brings Hope to Downtown." The article told about how the coffee shop helped people and brought the community together. After the story was published, more people started coming to the coffee shop. Some of them were tourists who had read the article. Others were local people who wanted to see what all the excitement was about. Betty had to hire another worker to help with all the new customers. She hired a young man named Carlos who needed a job. Sarah helped train him, just like Betty had trained her. "Remember to be patient with everyone," Sarah told Carlos on his first day. "Some people are having a hard time. A kind word can make a big difference." Carlos was a fast learner. He was good with customers and worked hard. Sarah felt proud to be teaching someone else. One evening, after work, Sarah was walking home when she saw a woman sitting on the street. The woman looked cold and hungry. She reminded Sarah of herself a few months ago. Sarah stopped and talked to the woman. Her name was Lisa. She had lost her job and her apartment. She had been living on the streets for 2 weeks. "I know how you feel," Sarah said. "I was in the same situation not long ago." "How did you get out of it?" Lisa asked. Sarah told her about Betty and the coffee shop. She told her about the kindness of strangers and the importance of not giving up hope. "There's a shelter 2 blocks from here," Sarah said. "It's not perfect, but you can sleep there tonight. And tomorrow, come to the coffee shop. I'll introduce you to my boss. Maybe she can help you find work." Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "You would do that for me? You don't even know me." "Someone did it for me," Sarah said. "Now I want to do it for you." The next morning, Lisa came to the coffee shop. She looked nervous and scared. Sarah introduced her to Betty. "Lisa needs help," Sarah said. "She's looking for work and a place to stay. She reminds me of someone else who came here a few months ago." Betty looked at Lisa with kind eyes. "Are you willing to work hard?" she asked. "Yes," Lisa said quickly. "I'll do anything." "We could use help with cleaning and preparing food," Betty said. "It's not easy work, but I can pay you fairly." Lisa started crying. "Thank you. Thank you so much." Sarah showed Lisa how to clean the tables and sweep the floors. She taught her how to prepare simple food items. Lisa was grateful for every task. "I can't believe people are being so nice to me," Lisa said to Sarah during a break. "Good people exist everywhere," Sarah said. "Sometimes you just have to find them. Or sometimes they find you." Betty let Lisa sleep in the storage room upstairs, just like she had let Sarah sleep there. Sarah brought Lisa some of her old clothes and showed her where to shower at the community center. Watching Lisa reminded Sarah of her own journey. She remembered how scared and hopeless she had felt. Now she was helping someone else feel less scared and more hopeful. A month later, Lisa had saved enough money to get her own small room in a boarding house. She was still working at the coffee shop and getting better at her job every day. "You changed my life," Lisa told Sarah on the day she moved out. "Eddie changed mine," Sarah said. "And someday you'll help change someone else's life too. Is that how it works?" Lisa asked. "I think so," Sarah said. "Kindness keeps moving from one person to another. It never really stops." That evening, Sarah sat in her apartment and thought about everything that had happened. In just a few months, her life had completely changed. She had gone from having nothing to having a job, a home, and friends. But the most important thing she had gained was the ability to help others. She had learned that her own pain and struggle could be used to understand and help other people. Sarah looked out her window at the street below. Somewhere out there, other people were walking around with no place to go, just like she had been. Maybe tomorrow one of them would come into the coffee shop. Maybe she would be able to help them too. She thought about Betty's words from that first night. Everyone deserves a chance. Sarah had gotten her chance, and now she was giving chances to other people. Sarah went to bed that night feeling grateful for her life. She had learned that sometimes the worst things that happen to you can teach you how to do the best things for others. Her time on the streets had been hard, but it had also taught her how to recognize when someone else needed help. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and new opportunities to help people. Sarah was ready for both. She had found her purpose in life, and it felt good. 6 months had passed since Sarah moved into her apartment. The coffee shop had become the most popular place in the neighborhood. People came not just for coffee, but to see art, listen to music, and meet friends. Sarah had become Betty's assistant manager. She helped make decisions about the shop and trained new workers. She felt proud of how much she had learned and grown. One cold winter morning, a little girl came into the coffee shop. She was about 8 years old, and she was alone. She looked around nervously and walked up to the counter. Can I help you? Sarah asked gently. Do you have any free food? The girl asked in a small voice. I'm very hungry. Sarah's heart broke. The girl reminded her of herself when she was young. What's your name, sweetie? Sarah asked. Emma, the girl said. Where are your parents? Emma. My mom is at home. She's sick and can't get out of bed. We don't have any food left. Sarah looked at Betty, who had heard the conversation. Betty nodded and went to make a sandwich. Sit down, Emma, Sarah said. We'll get you something to eat. Sarah brought Emma a sandwich, soup, and a glass of milk. The little girl ate quickly, like she hadn't eaten in days. Emma, where do you live? Sarah asked. Emma pointed down the street. In the old brown building. Apartment 3B. Sarah knew that building. It was where very poor people lived. The apartments were small, and the building was not in good condition. Is your mom very sick? Sarah asked. She has a bad cough, and she's always tired. She used to work at the store, but they said she couldn't come back until she got better. Sarah's mind was working fast. This family needed help with more than just food. Emma, I want you to take some food home to your mom, Sarah said, and I want to come with you to meet her. Is that okay? Emma nodded. She would like that. She's very nice. Betty packed a bag with sandwiches, soup, and fruit. Sarah told Carlos to watch the counter while she was gone. Then she walked with Emma to her building. The building was old and dark. The stairs creaked as they walked up to the 3rd floor. Emma opened the door to apartment 3B. The apartment was tiny and cold. A woman was lying on a small couch, covered with blankets. She looked very thin and pale. When she saw Sarah, she tried to sit up. Mom, this is Sarah. She gave me food and she wanted to meet you, Emma said. I'm sorry my daughter bothered you. The woman said weakly, I told her not to beg for food. She didn't bother me at all, Sarah said. I'm happy to help. What's your name? I'm Jennifer. Jennifer Martinez. Sarah sat down in a chair next to the couch. Jennifer, Emma told me you've been sick. Have you seen a doctor? I can't afford a doctor, Jennifer said. I lost my job when I got sick. Now I can't pay for medicine or food. Sarah looked around the apartment. There was almost no furniture and no food in the kitchen. The heat was barely working. Jennifer, I want to help you, Sarah said. I know what it's like to have nothing. Someone helped me when I needed it most. Now I want to help you and Emma. Jennifer started to cry. I don't know what to do. I'm trying so hard, but everything keeps getting worse. Sarah held Jennifer's hand. It's going to be okay. We're going to figure this out together. Sarah spent the next hour talking to Jennifer. She learned that Jennifer had been working at a grocery store for 3 years. She got sick with a bad lung infection, but couldn't afford to see a doctor. She kept working until she was too sick to stand up. Then the store fired her. I have some money saved, Sarah said. I want to take you to see a doctor tomorrow. I can't let you do that, Jennifer said. You don't even know us. A few months ago, I was sleeping on the streets, Sarah said. A woman named Betty saved my life. She gave me a job and a place to live. She taught me that people should help each other. The next day, Sarah took Jennifer to a community health clinic. The doctor said Jennifer had pneumonia. She needed medicine and rest to get better. Sarah paid for the medicine and brought Jennifer and Emma food every day. After a week of taking medicine and eating good food, Jennifer started to feel better. Her cough was getting less, and she had more energy. Sarah, I don't know how to thank you, Jennifer said. You saved our lives. You don't need to thank me, Sarah said. Just get better so you can take care of Emma. I want to find a job as soon as I'm well, Jennifer said. I need to pay you back. Let's talk to Betty, Sarah said. Maybe she has some work for you." When Jennifer was feeling stronger, Sarah brought her to the coffee shop. Betty met Jennifer and Emma and liked them right away. "I could use help with baking," Betty told Jennifer. "I make muffins and cookies every morning before we open. The work is early, but it pays well." Jennifer's eyes lit up. "I love to bake. I used to make cakes for my neighbors." "Perfect," Betty said. "You can start next week when you're feeling completely better." Emma was excited that her mom would be working again. "Can I come to the coffee shop after school sometimes?" she asked. "Of course," Sarah said. "You can do your homework here and help us with small jobs." The next week, Jennifer started working at the coffee shop. She came in at 5 in the morning to bake fresh muffins, cookies, and bread. The customers loved her baking, and the shop sold more food than ever before. Emma came to the shop every day after school. She would sit at a corner table and do her homework. Then she would help clean tables and serve customers. Everyone who worked at the shop loved having her there. "Emma reminds me of myself when I was young," Sarah told Betty one day. "She's smart and works hard." "She's lucky to have you looking out for her," Betty said. "You're like a big sister to her." Sarah had never thought about it that way, but Betty was right. She did feel like Emma's big sister. She helped Emma with her homework and taught her how to count money when she helped at the shop. One evening, Jennifer pulled Sarah aside to talk. "I got my first paycheck today," Jennifer said. "I want to pay you back for the doctor and the medicine." "Keep your money," Sarah said. "Use it to take care of Emma and yourself." "But you spent so much to help us," Jennifer said. "Someone spent money to help me too," Sarah said. "The best way to pay me back is to help someone else when you can," Jennifer smiled. "I understand. I'll remember that." A few weeks later, something wonderful happened. A man came into the coffee shop looking for Jennifer. He was the manager of a big bakery downtown. "I heard about your baking from one of my customers," he told Jennifer. "She said your muffins are the best in the city. I want to offer you a job at my bakery." The job paid twice as much as Jennifer was making at the coffee shop. She would be the head baker and could work during the day instead of early morning. Jennifer was excited but also worried. "I don't want to leave Betty and Sarah," she told the man. "They saved my life." "Take the job," Betty told her when she heard about it. "This is a great opportunity for you and Emma." "Are you sure?" Jennifer asked. "Absolutely," Sarah said. "We helped you so you could have a better life. This job will give you and Emma the future you deserve." Jennifer cried happy tears. "I'll never forget what you did for us." "We'll never forget you either," Sarah said. "But we're not saying goodbye. We're saying see you later." On Jennifer's last day at the coffee shop, all the regular customers came to wish her good luck. Emma was proud of her mom and excited about their new life. That night, Sarah sat in her apartment and thought about Jennifer and Emma. She was happy they were doing well, but she would miss seeing them every day. They had become like family too. Sarah realized that helping people meant sometimes letting them go. The goal was not to keep them close, but to help them become independent and strong. She had learned this lesson from Betty, and now she was living it with Jennifer and Emma. Cycle of Kindness continued to grow, and Sarah was proud to be part of it.